Welcome to the Strength Coach Experience podcast. I'm your host, Joe Lego, and here we go. Welcome everyone to the Strength Coach Experience, episode 6. Today I want to welcome Stephanie Del Preore, formerly a basketball player at Marist, played professionally, and now she is the head women's basketball coach at East Stroudsburg University. Steph, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Good job in pronouncing my name.
Of course. Yeah, I practiced a lot. Let's jump right into stuff here. So why don't we go over just growing up, childhood and how you started playing basketball and how everything kind of started.
Yeah. So I was 12 years old when I started playing basketball. And I'm pretty sure the reason was because I was like tall. My parents were like, we need her to do something. I actually started off first with high jumping and running track. And that kind of propelled me to start playing basketball. And when I was 12, I just tried out for a few teams. I really didn't make many of the teams. I made like the lowest level team you could possibly make in like your town, but like the Rec B League. But I kept playing and just really enjoyed it and kind of just kept working at it. And then I eventually was able to, be on varsity early in high school and then go to college on a scholarship. And then I played pro, and that's kind of what got me started.
Nice. Did you do both track and basketball all the way through high school, or did you kind of quit one or the other once you started getting better at basketball?
So I loved track. I still do. I did track my freshman year in high school. I actually won the state championship for high jumping. And then I chose to play basketball after that. The coaches on track were like, you need to pick a sport, and basketball's like, you need to pick a sport. And then college coaches were reaching out to both of my coaches, which was super early in like my career, asking what I wanted to do. And then I ultimately chose basketball. But I could have chosen to go to college for track, because even though I didn't participate, my sophomore or junior year, college coaches still wanted me to go high jump for them.
Wow. Well, there's no better place than on top of track. So you left as a state champ, and then you went on to play in college. How was the transition from playing in high school basketball to when you went off to Marist? Was it a big transition, or was it something that just kind of happened naturally?
I think it was a bigger transition than I expected it to be. I trained, I did the summer packet. I did everything I thought I needed to do. And then upon like entering my freshman year, I was like, oh crap, like this is a lot harder than I thought. I think mainly because my competition in high school wasn't great, but the competition in AAU was. And then the other thing was the strength and conditioning aspect of it. Training on your own or with like the football coach in my high school, like I did before college, is totally different than having a strength and conditioning coach Division I level in your face, like 3 times a day. And they wanted me to gain weight. They wanted to change the position I played. So everything kind of changed when I went into college.
Okay. What are some of the things you did differently in terms of strength conditioning in college, like that stick out to you that really helped you kind of propel your career, besides the 3 times a day and the screaming?
Oh boy. I just really focused on technique with everything, because I was like at that point, like just tall and like skinny, and I was not strong at all. So, and like at all, I was like 145 pounds probably entering college. So I really just focused on that, because I know that the biggest thing with strength and conditioning for us was injury prevention. And then my coaches told me like, oh, we want you to play the post. And I'm like, well, I'm 145 pounds. I can't play the post. So I focused a lot on my technique, just so to learn what I was doing to then get stronger. And then, I started training in the summers with the football team, and I was maxing out with them. And I had a lot of private lift sessions because, one, I was embarrassed to be lifting as much as I was in front of other people. I was dead, like serious. Like I told my strength coach, like, lock the doors, don't let anybody in here, and I will max out on squats, just only in front of you. Like I was so embarrassed with the weight that I was lifting by my senior year. because it was like unheard of. But I just, like I said, it was really technique, and it was just sticking with it and not like being scared. I had a super innovative strength coach who was always trying new things. And then I started training a little bit more with the football team and stuff in the summer just to get stronger. And I entered college 145 and I graduated like 175 with like barely any body fat. I just really focused on like nutrition, and I didn't drink for 2 seasons of college. My junior and senior year, I didn't drink at all, just to honestly get my body in the best shape possible.
Wow, that's impressive, because I live right down
Yeah.
the street from Marist, and I used to go out there all the time, and that's all the bars were just filled with,
They're
people that
fantastic.
went to Marist. It was crazy. But that's great that, the strength coach, developed that trust with you, and, he was able to identify what you needed and also kind of put you in positions where you were comfortable, with pushing yourself, even though you didn't want to max out with the team, allowing you to kind of have stuff
It
to
was,
yourself. And,
it was more like I was embarrassed, but also like I felt like I was showing off all the time because like my strength coach would make like a scene in the weight room when it was time to like max out. I'm actually still very close with him. I'm all these years later. He still comes to my basketball games. He still sends me workouts thinking I'm still lifting or something, but I'm still super close with him, and he's still like an amazing strength and conditioning coach. So, and I know like the reason we won the championship my senior year, like was definitely one of the main reasons was because of him.
Yeah, that's great that you still have that relationship. So when you played in college, were you a leader on the court? Like, were you a rah-rah person, or did you just kind of keep to yourself?
Oh no, I was a rah rah in your face.
I was gonna guess just
Yeah.
from knowing
I'm
you,
like,
but I figured I'd ask.
duh. Yeah, I mean, I was the one, grabbing people in the locker room, telling them to get their shit together, and I'm not passing you the ball if you can't figure your shit out, type of thing. Or I was the one telling them, just give me the ball. Like I was like, I got this. I just really had a like I was always, encouraging people and trying to pick people up, and I was always trying to bring everybody together. But my coach would always get pissed off because he would always say that I was smiling and not sweating. Um, and I'm like, well, I'm not a sweater. I'm a smiler. Like I truly loved playing basketball. Like, and I like, there's so many pictures. I'm just like smiling on the court. Like we're down 30 and I'm like, la, 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 like, this is fun. I just really loved playing. And that's why I always wanted my teammates to like, be involved and love it just as much as I did.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, when I played, I still miss it sometimes, but when I play now, the ball goes over the backboard and it's a
Yeah, same.
disaster. So I'm like, I'm just going to play golf. So the
Yeah.
transition into professional, how was that? Was that different, or did you just kind of keep the same, mindset and stuff that you had going from college into professional?
I trained like crazy going overseas. I trained with a few NBA guys, and I like the shape my body was in was ridiculous just going to play pro. Um, and when I got there, they were like, "All right, you're going to play 5 positions because you're the only American, and we're paying you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I actually did 2-a-day lifts and our on the same days that we had practice, just not on game day. So that was a little different. Lifting twice a day and doing like a maintenance lift and then like another lift that was like focused on a body part. That was a little different. And the biggest difference was that nobody like really watched you. Like whereas in college, like we had 48-hour rule and reported to class. Like I was just waking up and like walking around Spain and then going to practice for 2 hours. And it was like the craziest thing because our first trip, our first away game was at like in like Ibiza, like Mallorca, which is like right outside Ibiza, like an island. And my coach, like we get there and he's like, "All right, see you tomorrow." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you mean?" And he's like, "Yeah, we have a game tomorrow. I'll see you then." And I'm like, "I don't get it." And my teammates were like, "Fiesta, like time to party." And I'm like, "I didn't drink for 2 years in my season. And now you're boozing the night before a game." Like, it was crazy because I was like 21 years old and they were like full grown adults and I thought I was, but that was really different. Just kind of being on my own and having to like meal prep and do everything like that. Um, and like taping my own ankles on game day, little different, but it was a ridiculous experience.
Yeah, no, that's a great story, and I think that's the biggest thing for people out there that haven't gone into professional sports or want to go into professional sports, especially with my experience in baseball. Like once you get there, you're on your own. There's no
Yeah.
more be here this time, do this.
Nope.
This is when we ride the bus. It's you have a game at this time. That's all we care about, and don't do
Yep.
anything ridiculous. When you're not here. But other than that, we're not going to watch you or kind of
Yeah.
tell you what to do.
It was like Easter and my mom came to visit me and my coach was like, surprise, like I'm going to give you off for 3 days. And I'm like, thanks. He's like, you just have to be here for the game. So I'm thinking like, I'm not going to start, right? Like I wasn't here for 3 days. Played every single minute of the game. I also fouled out of every game overseas just because I figured, I got nothing to lose. And you had like 6 fouls instead of 5. But yeah, like they still played me. Like I had an injury and they were like, well, you're under contract. So as soon as your injury is better, you're playing. Like, sorry. Like it was wild. That was a little different too.
Yeah. How was the strength stuff? I mean, I know you said you did a lot on your own. Did they have a structured program for you to do on your own, or was it kind of just everything was, whatever's best for you as long as you're ready for the game?
It was kind of a mix. We had this dude that was it's so crazy, like a handball trainer. So handball was like really big in the region of Spain I played in, but these handball guys were like jacked, like they were strong. So we had like this guy that like trained a handball team that was our strength coach and our conditioning coach. So we were with him like 2 or 3 days a week, and then we had separate workouts that we could do on our own. And then my strength coach from college also gave me a workout. And I mean, I was really on my own. So I was like, what the hell else am I going to do? So it was actually like a 2-mile walk to the weight room. So I would walk there in the morning, work out, walk home, hang out, bullshit with my teammates, go work out again, then go to practice.
Yeah. Well, it's a great transition, but it's good that the stuff from, that you got from college was able to segue into, in professional and helped you there. So let's go into, when did you start coaching? When was the first time you started doing that?
Oh my God, 15 years ago, I started college coaching, but about 16, maybe a little bit more. I started JV high school and then just worked my way up, like super, super traditional way of coaching, which I feel like nobody does anymore because nobody has patience. Then I was an assistant at a Division II college. Then I was an assistant at a Division III college, and then head coach at Division II, assistant at Division I, head coach at Division I, and now Division II again. So I like literally took every single step possible to get to where I am.
Yeah, no, but I think that's great, for everybody out there listening. You have to go through that road. I think it helps, a lot better as opposed to you were really good, and then now tomorrow you're an assistant at a D1 program. I think it helps when you go through the JVs and stuff. You learn how to coach everybody, but also you learn, when the play, oh, this sucks, I want to get out of here, or you're thankful from, when you get to a good situation, you kind of, you're, happier, or you're more thankful for where you are at the time, because if you just end up at LSU right off the jump, then that's what you expect. And
and it helps with experience. Like this is my 15th year of coaching college, and I could probably write a book. Like I've had every single experience. I think I've had every experience you could have, and then a different thing gets thrown at me. So and I still bring up things like, I'll be like, you know what? I did this play with my JV team 15 years ago. Let's see if it works. Like the experience is awesome. And then also, networking's been great, and I'm like learning more and more and more. So I'm glad I didn't do what a lot of people are trying to do, just say I was a good player and jump right into coaching. I'm glad I took the steps. I feel a little bit older because of that, but coaching college this long has aged me. No, but it's been pretty cool to be able to do that. I mean, I was able to coach a championship at every level now. So it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that's great. And, you're able to use those experiences, from every aspect, even at a higher level. You can still transition it or change it into, whatever competition level that's there. And I think it's very important that everybody, regardless of the field you're in, you have to be able to get the experience. That should be a goal when you first start, so that you learn, because, no experience is a waste of time. They're all meant to be there or something, and you can always kind of pull them out of your toolbox. Did you have aspirations of coaching when you played? Or was that something that happened right after? Like, did you ever plan on coaching?
I always wanted to coach. I just didn't know how good I would be. I'm not going to say I wasn't the most coachable player, but I went through a lot of coaching.
Well, you fouled out of your and you used to get yelled at by the coach. So
yeah, I was always the player that my coach yelled at. Like I could be sitting on the bench getting water, and he'd be like, "Stephanie, pass the ball," and I'm like, "I'm not even in the game." And to this day, him and I talk about it. He's like, I just always had you on my mind to yell at. And I'm like, but I was the goody two shoes, I would touch the line every time. But I didn't know. I had 4 coaches in high school and 2 coaches in college. So I didn't know if I wanted to coach, because I didn't know if I wanted to put kids through that mental strain of coaching changes and everything my coach did. But I was playing in Spain, and my coach relied on me a lot to help with the plays and help with practice. And then I just started kind of coaching. And then when I came home, I was like, yeah, like my brain wasn't thinking as a player. It was more thinking as a coach. Like normally I'm like, just give me the ball so I can score. But in Spain, I was like, oh, maybe if she sets a screen here and we can throw the ball here. And I was like, whoa. So I realized that like my brain kind of went to the coaching mode a little bit more when I was overseas.
Yeah, I think that's great. And, that transition. And, sometimes it happens that way. I mean, with me, I never wanted to coach. I mean, I just would go to practice and be quiet. And then all of a sudden I'm coaching people and I'm like, this is, crazy. And I'm talking on a podcast. So, everything
Yeah.
happens the way it does. And, I think everybody ends up where they're supposed to be as long as you kind of keep pushing with everything. So when you were, let's just talk a little bit about when you went to, all those levels, do you feel like, did you ever struggle at a level, or do you feel like one level was harder, or because you had that in-depth experience kind of going through every level, do you feel like you were prepared every time you kind of jumped up?
I think I was as prepared as I could have been. Every level, it depends on how you treat it. I think every level could be very similar. The big difference is like the money aspect. I think that would be the biggest difference in coaching at different levels. But at the end of the day, the 2 hours a day I get on the court, I'm not coaching my East Stroudsburg team any different than the drills we did at Seton Hall, or any different than, honestly, than my JV team. Like everything seems to carry over because basketball, like it's not changing.
Yeah, exactly. It's all kind of the same thing. And I think that's a great point. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You do the same
Yeah.
thing with everybody. They just play at a different level. They listen a little bit better, or they can kind of execute things how you see them in your head, but you're pretty much doing the same drills. I mean, it's the same thing with strength conditioning. We do the same exercises. I train a 10-year-old the same as I train a professional baseball player. It's
Right.
just that, they are at a higher level, they can progress a little bit more, and you're going to see those changes or the things you do in the weight room a little bit more on the field. But pretty much, yeah, I think it's a great point. That it's all the same, it doesn't go. And I think I just want to touch on real quick, you brought up a great point with networking. In anything you do, networking is the most important thing. I'm sure you have a lot of opportunities in the past for coaching because of networking and all the people you've met. So everybody out there listening, networking is kind of the biggest thing. So
Yeah,
as a
that's
coach, oh, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry. No, it's good. That's how I got the Seton Hall job. Which is crazy. I mean, I played at Marist, and the new Iona coach, I think he came in my senior year.
I know. Yeah, I was there when
Yeah,
I was there.
Tony.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So at the Met dinner, I got like Met player of the something. So at the Met dinner my senior year, he was at my table and we were just like shooting the shit. And he was like, oh my God, like I didn't even recognize you because I was dressed up and not like in my uniform, like an animal, how I played. I was psychotic when I played. And he, was like, are you going to get into coaching? And that's when I was going to play pro. Fast forward, I'm the head coach at Bridgeport. He reaches out and he's like, I have a job opportunity. Do you want to be my first assistant? I just got the Seton Hall job last week. Like, this is the guy I ate dinner with at the Met dinner when I was 21 years old. Fast forward, I'm 30, like getting that job. Like, it was crazy, all because of networking and just talking to people.
Yeah, no, and crazy, just a little background. Before I even met you, I knew the
Hmm.
strength coach at Seton Hall, and I was there a little bit, at Seton Hall at the same time you were there. It was before we met, but that's just how networking works. It's crazy
Hmm.
if all the people you meet, everybody's kind of together, but you never know, who you're going to eat dinner with, who you're going to sit down with, and what opportunities they'll have. So,
Yep.
in terms of your coaching, let's talk a little bit about your philosophy. What's your main things, when girls come in, and what are the things I mean, I guess we'll break it into parts. What are the things you look for, and what are the things kind of you expect and find out, the most important things out of your team?
I think I used to be such a hard ass when I coached, and everybody now, my former players, are like, "You're so soft." I think as a coach, you have to know that everybody has to be coached different. That you can't go in and coach everybody the same. I used to think I could coach everybody the same, and that didn't really work out well. So I think learning your like my philosophy, like as far as like on the coaching side, not like my X's and O's philosophy, but more coaching. Like you have to learn your players. Like you can't be so like strict and be like it's just basketball. Like because there's so much more to it. So I try to like know my players, know where they're coming from, know their families, and understand like them as a human because I think it helps me to coach them more and relate to them more. Um, and I think that creates better team chemistry. If I know my players and know how they get along and why they get along, that's a huge thing. But I'm all about like family with my kids. Like I try to, understand everything they're going through, and I let them in my life a little bit, not a lot, but just enough so they understand me. And I think that equal respect helps, at least help my previous success. Like when the kids see like where I'm coming from and know that like I'm actually there for them, I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing point. And like I said, I use it the same way. If you get your kids to trust you, they'll, do anything for you. But if you don't get that
Hmm.
trust, it doesn't matter how much you yell and scream or how much you tell them you expect out of them. If that trust isn't there, you're not going to get anything out of them. And you're right. You have to let them know you a little bit, or else they're never going to trust you. You can't stay on, outside and be a statue either, unless they're not going to,
Right.
perform for you.
Yeah. And like, it's funny, like my team this previous year, they were really good with all of that. And like, if I said the sky was purple, they were like, all right, bring it in. The sky is purple. Like they were so bought in, and like, they got very close to like my family, like without like prying. And like, it showed, like we won 20 games. Like, and I think a lot of the reason was because they trusted me and they trusted each other. And I draw some crazy plays and I come up with some crazy ideas in timeouts. And like, they were like, okay, we'll do it. And they did it. And like, I'm the first to be like, all right, that sucked. My bad. And I think that's the other part with coaching is you have to fall on the sword every once in a while and you have to be very transparent. See, I think the having no pride when you coach has become a big thing with me. Meaning like if I draw up a scout and I say we're playing man the whole time and 5 minutes into the game, our man defense sucks. I'll rip up the scout and be like, all right, we're going zone. And they're like, we haven't practiced zone. I'm like, well, that's great. Well, we're going zone. Let's see if it works. And they kind of trust that I know what I'm doing, but also they trust what I'm telling them to do. Because I always tell my kids, like, I'm not putting you in a position to lose. I'm never going to put you in a bad position. And I think when they see that I'm like, oh, I messed up. That was the wrong play. We should not have run that. That was awful. That they have a little bit more respect than me being like, well, you guys messed up the play, not my play calling. So I think not having a ton of pride when I coach is also a huge thing as well.
Yeah, I think that's a a big word and something to use, especially as you progress through coaching, because you have to be able to you know have your players do some things that you're not 100% sure of, but also if they work, it's great. But if they don't work as well, you have to be able to say, hey, my bad, instead of putting it on them. But again, that's another way in which you develop trust. If they know that if you mess up or you give them something to do and it doesn't work out 100%, you're there to say, I messed up, it's okay, so that when they mess up, you're kind of on common ground.
Yeah, and honestly, like my players got to know me very well this year. Again, I was a new coach, and like we would practice all these plays, and then we always review our plays. I'm a big fan of leaving no room for question in practice and only practicing an hour and a half, like getting in, getting out. And I always leave 20 minutes to review plays. And there are some times where they just look at me and they're like, you don't like the play. And I'm like, I know, no, I don't. You're right. Like it looks good, but I just don't like it. And they're like, well, let's change it. Like they're totally on board with me, like scrapping the whole hour of practice and like being like, let's edit it. Because they trust me and I trust them that again, they're gonna do what they can for their teammates to win.
Yeah, and that's great that you have that camaraderie where you can work on something and then change it, but that even though you've been working on it for a little while, they're still they trust your judgment and they're willing to put in the same kind of work and the same effort to learn the new thing, even if it's on short notice.
Yeah, and I wasn't always like that. Earlier in my coaching career, I'm like, we're running this and this is how we're gonna do it. And if it doesn't work, it's because you suck, Now I'm like, it's probably because I suck that it's not working. Let's fix this. So yeah, so that's a big thing. I'm brutally honest with them. If I mess up, I let them know.
Yeah, no, I mean, we all start that way. When I started at strength conditioning, I used to just scream at everybody at the top
Yeah,
of my lungs for
animals.
everything. And I used to yell at everybody. I would even scream at people if there was other people in the weight room didn't belong there. I'd be like, you need to get
Mhm.
out because it's my hour and you need to leave. And I don't care, whatever. And, eventually as you get more experience, you go through all those, different levels. I realized you can't scream at people and, it doesn't really, they don't trust you. I mean, you've seen coaches
Yeah,
that just scream and the kids' eyes are in the air. So I think, one of the things, I think everybody's kind of starts off that way, but importantly, you have to, learn to kind of, you want to involve them more, and the more you
yeah.
involve them and the more they understand you and you understand them, I think you'll get the best out of the team for that.
Yeah, and there's no secrets like in basketball. Like I'm not drawing up a 5 point play. Like I used to be like, lock the doors, black out the windows. Like who gives a shit? Nobody's coming in. Like, okay, come in and watch my practice. Like I'm not drawing up anything special. Like I didn't make up the play in my head. Like I probably got it from somewhere, maybe altered it. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that. Like it's not that serious. Like
Yeah.
I got it. Like, and I don't need to be a screaming animal anymore in practices. And same thing, like I don't run my kids. Like we don't do suicides as punishments. It's not going to help us. We're going to get hurt, and it's then they're just going to resent basketball. Like I do other things instead of that most of the time, for like a quote unquote punishment.
Yeah, no, it's a big transition. I mean, when I played in JUCO, geez, what, 12 years ago, we ran till, I mean,
Yeah,
the wood was going on the floor. We would run every time somebody sneezed.
yeah,
I mean, it was unreal and it was brutal. All we did was run, and it's
that's
just
it.
constant. And then I think what happens is, you miss a layup, you run, you concentrate more on those little things instead of working on why did you miss a layup? Instead of, oh, you missed, everybody go run, and I think that's a
Exactly.
great way, to go about it that way, especially find other ways to punish. Exactly. And it's the same thing with me. I used to run everybody until somebody passed out, and now we would talk about things, and I think
Right.
it's a great,
Yeah.
great transition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we'd
yeah,
sit in
and
a circle.
honestly, yeah, seriously. But like honestly, I used to also be like, all right, everybody's got to do their sprint in this time. Okay, the reality is not every kid is going to get it in that time. You always got one kid that's probably a little slower, and they might be my best player. So what? I'm not starting somebody because they didn't make a sprint because I gave a crappy time for her. Like she's trying, like I used to be like, you got to do it. Like, okay, she's not getting faster. Like I don't like, no, she can't get 3 seconds off of her sprint, not in the middle of the season. So so I kind of learned that, and I used to do like timed miles, but I do everything a little bit differently now.
Yeah, no, it's important to do that. I mean, I used to do the same thing, agreeing, I used to run everybody, and you realize that, the running, everybody's not going to be faster. You're going to have slow kids, and, but like I said, as you said before, and as you talked about, it's a learning experience, and I think everybody, that's again, going back to what you said in the beginning, that's why you have to go through those transitions. That's why you have to coach younger kids, older kids, and all the way through, because then you learn what everybody wants to deal with. Some places you go, they might like to run, but most of the time, you're going to have one or two kids that just don't get it, or it doesn't fix anything. It kind of
Right.
just impedes everybody. And then, as you know, when you do the drills, you start to create division in the team. If you have one player who's real fast and one who's slow, and they have to continuously run.
Right. And I was the fast one, and I was like, all right, let me slow down so we can all do this together, because I like felt bad. But yeah, and I mean, I more give my team options, or they hold themselves accountable and kind of do it on their own. But again, that has changed.
Yeah,
It wasn't
exactly.
always like this.
Yeah, and I think before you brought up too, you don't have to black the windows out either. Where everybody as a coach, everybody's doing the same thing. I mean, we're
Yep.
not building secret weapons. Everybody is using the same information, the same science. The goal is, I think, just to get your players, whatever it is, strength and conditioning, baseball, basketball, to execute the play the right way and to do it in a way that benefits your team. I don't
Right.
think you need to hide anything. And that's the biggest thing, I think, with sports, and especially in strength and conditioning as well. Everybody like hides things, or, people don't want to show you their stuff. And I'm like, if they can take your philosophy from
Yeah.
seeing a piece of paper, you're a terrible coach at whatever field you are.
Right.
You should got to give somebody all of your information, and you should be able to still beat them at your game.
Right. I always say that, like, to my players, like I can give our whole play. I personally think if, I can give my whole playbook to somebody, it doesn't mean they're going to beat us. They don't know the inner workings of our team. They don't know how we are as a team. They don't know our chemistry. They don't know like my banter with the players. You know what I mean? Like there's that to me means like so much more.
Yeah, I think it's great. And the same thing, with me, there's changes you can make on the fly, and there's different ways to motivate each player. And only that, that's not written in the playbook. And I think that helps. And that's the way it's going to execute. It's not what's written down. That's just a guide.
Yeah. And my players see that I try to work well with others. Like
Try
I
quotation
try.
marks.
No, I've gotten way better. Honestly, it's tough. When you're in a big athletic department, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of hands involved in everything, but they see like my staff and I are a family, and they see that I talk to our athletic trainer every single day. I send her our practice plan every day. I get updates every day. And they see that I talk every single day with our strength and conditioning coach and his GAs. So I'm at their 6 a.m. workouts, not chiming in because I don't know what the hell I'm doing in the weight room. Like I am there clapping, I am there motivating. when they're doing their sprints, I'm like, you're getting Dairy Queen if you win. Like when they're doing their conditioning with our strength coach, and they see that him and I talk every day, and they see that I talk to our trainer. So I think that helps with chemistry, and I think that helps, improve our team, because they're not like, oh, our strength and conditioning coach is running us into the ground and coach has no idea. Like, no, I'm there, and oh, they don't know that the trainer, had to do extra work on my back today. No, I get my email and, I check in every single day with the trainer. So I think that they see that if you work with the other people that are working with them, that it helps you be like more of a cohesive unit.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing thing. And I wish that everybody would do that, just from my side, because when you go with teams, when you're at schools and things like that, with my experience, especially when the coach is interested in what you're doing as a strength coach, when they're involved in what the ATs are doing, what the assistant coaches, or just how the players are in general, what they're going through, that marrying, or that, kind of family you create between sports science and coaching, I think that's key. And I think if you go down the line, I think every successful team, probably has a relationship somewhat similar to that. They just don't talk about that, but I think that's gigantic. And I think that would, change the dynamics of a lot of schools and a lot of sports in terms of success if everybody would do that.
Yeah, I actually talked about it on my interview. And I've talked to my strength coach and my athletic trainer about it, because they were like, what do you think our role is? And I'm like, your role is to get everybody healthy and get them on the court. I have the easiest job out of everybody. I get to pick 5 kids that get to play for 40 minutes twice a week. Like, that's the easiest thing in the world compared to what you guys have to do. So I told them, like, if you don't tell me what offenses to run, I'm not stepping on your toes. It's up to you guys for strength and conditioning, as well as the athletic trainers, is to keep people healthy and get them on the court. I can't do my job if there's not people on the basketball court, and I'm not the one that's going to get them there. So I think you guys have the bigger role, and I just kind of sit back and like reap the benefits of, look how strong she got, and wow, her ankle healed. Great. Let's play basketball. So yeah, I've learned over the years, like, my strongest bond has to be with them.
Yeah. And, especially with you, if they're not playing at a high level or they're not performing the way you want them to, then we have to go back and kind of redo what we're doing too. So I think it's, it goes both ways. We have to be transparent with you, and you have to be transparent with us, so that, our job is to get them stronger, but also if they're not playing or they're not performing, kind of how you need them to, then we have to kind of go back to the drawing board as well. So I think that push and pull is amazing. And I think that's very important to have in every school.
Yeah, agreed.
So what's next in the future?
I don't know, man. Everybody's asking. My boss is actually like, you're staying, right? I'm like, yeah, where am I going? I actually love East Stroudsburg, and I've told you this, like, one-on-one. I love it. I love the Division II lifestyle. I love that my athletes are academic and athletic minded. I love that it's a state school. There's huge benefits and a plus side to being a state school, which I've never been a part of. This is my first school coaching that has a football team, which is really cool. To have 100 dudes at your basketball games is really awesome. And to be able to go to a football game on a weekend is a totally different atmosphere than I've ever been used to. This is it. Like, I came back to Division II. I love coaching at this level. There's so many perks. I really, really enjoy it. I'm getting my master's there, which is really cool. I've waited all these years to get my master's because I've never been a GA, and I'm getting it in sports management, and something that I've always wanted to do. So I have a feeling I'm going to be here a while. I love my team and the players I have coming in, and we have great administrative support. So I'm in a really, really good spot.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And we've talked, I can tell you're happy there. And, I think it's I think it's the place for you. I think you finally found the spot that, they fit you, you fit them, and everybody's been real responsive. And, this, like I said, seems like a good spot.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to contact you, ask you questions, where is the best way to do that?
Email is cool. Whatever. Okay. Email, Twitter, I'm so cool. I know how to use social media because of my players.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, my school email or my Gmail's fine. Whatever works. Both are sdelpreore@gmail or at esu.edu.
Okay. So yeah, anybody out there wants to ask her any questions or, just wants some advice, she's a wonderful person and always there to give you advice. Well, Steph,
yes.
That was amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show. I truly, truly enjoyed it. And I can't thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Good times for sure.